Right, today I'm going to be going through every single CDL team and breaking down, in my opinion, the most impactful player, the most important player for every single team. So the way it's going to be is basically I'm going to look at the team and say, if I was like an org owner and I could only keep one of these players to build around, who would I go around? That's kind of the basis of the video. Obviously, some of these teams have multiple players. I'm going to give my reasonings to each one. Okay, hope you guys enjoy it. Starting off with Atlanta FaZe. I'm literally going in order. This is Breaking Point, fantastic website. It literally has everything you need. Going through an order of the list provided, which is alphabetical. So let's go with the number one seeded team, the best team in the game currently, Atlanta FaZe. You saw them absolutely looking ridiculous recently at Major 1. Go through some of the stats here. Statistically, you can see Celium has the best KD, and they're all doing really good, okay? The player I would personally pick and to build around, I think, would be FaZe Simp. Few reasons why. I think when I'm looking at a player, there's two things I'm actually mainly looking at. Let me actually get this little diagram out to make it a little bit easier. Give me 1 second to get the epic pen out. So what I want to do is I'm looking at a player who I believe has the highest floor as a player. So let's say this is the player, okay? There's some players like this is the floor and this is the ceiling, okay? Some players have a range like this. So some players have a range like this where like their ceiling is really high, but their floor is really low. And those players I'm not a big fan of because they cause a lot of inconsistencies, okay? Now, out of this team, I think all of these players have a ridiculously high ceiling. Okay, so their ceiling is insane, one of the best players in the game, and their floor as a player is also very high. So what that means is, even if one of these players play bad, they're still going to be very good. They're still going to be one of the best players. But I just believe that Simp overall is so annoying to play against. I can just see as a like Optic fan, whenever I'm going up against Simp or something like that, like I'm watching, I'm like, this guy's just always turning up. He's always having those MVP events, and he just is so impactful in the game at his role as well. I feel like he just never makes mistakes. Someone like Stadium's really good in the team, but I feel like for me, Simp, he will make the overall team's floor increase. So I really like BZ and Simp. I would probably go with, my order would probably be Simp, BZ, Cell, then Draws. And the reason why, even though BZ statistically has probably been the worst statistically, and Stadium's been the best, I would still go with a BZ because of his role. If I'm trying to build a team around one of these players, I just think it's so hard to get a first blood SMG as good as a BZ. Someone that's entry, like an entry sub, so hard to get. So BZ would be my second pick and Simp would be my first because I just think he could do anything in the game, and any team I get around him will be better with Simp. I think the floor will be higher. So I'm going with Simp as my player for Atlanta FaZe. If we go to Boston Breach here, for Boston Breach, I think it's just a little bit easier because I'm looking at overall, like, again, ceiling, potential, all that kind of stuff there. And I just think Snoopy has been their best player in terms of mechanically he's so good. I think his movement's been good. He has that takeover series. He's a young player. I think this is quite easy for me. I think Snoopy's a player I would definitely go with. Let's look at the stats. Okay, so I didn't even look at the stats here, but this is one of those where he has clearly been probably the best player for them statistically, and just on the eye test, he's a very good player. I would go with Snoopy, nice and easy for that one. Again, I want you guys to realize this is not only about the franchising now, it's about the future as well. For example, let's go to Carolina. I'm not going to say, oh, Slasher's had a good career, so I'm going to pick Slasher. I'm looking at the potential. I'm an all-goer. So who am I going to go around for this team? I think TJ is overperformed for his average. He plays really, really well. Hopefully he can stay to that. But for me, I'm going to go with Gwyn because I just feel like Gwyn as a player, he has a higher potential. I think if I had to let anyone on this roster go, I just don't think I can let Gwyn go. I just think he's that much better than everyone else. Again, KD shows it. So you can see some of the KD shows it. Now, I will say, if I'm having Gwyn as my franchise player, I need him to step up on LAN. That's one thing that I just really want to see Gwyn do better in, is play better at LAN. I don't know if you guys will agree with me. I feel like his LAN placements have been a little bit underwhelming considering how good he is as a player. So I think on LAN, he needs to step up a bit. But besides that, he's been fantastic online. Oh, they obviously finished top 4 in LAN, so I'm not saying they played awful, but even if we go to this series here, I don't know if it will let me click it. Will it let me click it? I want to check something. Let's go to the completed matches, to the match they lost, right? Hopefully it shows it. Hopefully it shows it. This is the kind of match where I didn't see Gwyn take over. And I think, because I went through the video, but yeah, look at this. Like, he had a 1.04, which wasn't bad. But then you look at Lucky with a 1.2, and again, stats on everything. But I just need Gwyn to have that takeover series, and I feel like that was a perfect example to take them to that top 3 finish. And just, I want to see a bit more from Gwyn as my franchise player, but that's the player I'm going with. Then we go to Cloud9. This is an interesting one. This is a controversial one, and most people are probably going to disagree. I'd love to know down below. The player I keep is Sib. He's been too good in the past. He's just been too good. He's too good of a player for me to let go. Attach is going he's becoming older and older, and it's not someone I would build my franchise around. Still a great player to have. Obviously, he had a poor start, Attach and Sib, which is really unlike them both, because they're both been really well last year. You can see they actually played really poor. Kremp and Mac have been their best players. But for me, Sib's ceiling is like a top 3, top 4 AR in the game. We saw it last year. He's just so good as a player overall, as like my franchise player. I would just, if I had to rebuild this team and stuff like that, like I would honestly just keep him. I really would. I would keep Sib and work around that. I don't see a world where I don't keep Sib in this team. Even though he's played poor right now, I would just build around Sib. I really would. Then we go to LAG. This one's interesting because you got 3 world champs and then you got like a new upcoming player, and you're kind of like, who do you build around? Again, I think for this one, again, I think I'm going with Linz as my most important player to build around. I just think he has something special as that kind of slayer player. And I think the other teams we've kind of seen already, we've kind of seen their best and their worst. And it's not like they can't play well. I think Kismet will probably be my second player. I just think the different version of I think these guys play really well in team dynamics and based on certain teams. But if I'm building around somebody here, I think it has to be Linz or Kismet. I think Loki, I go with Linz, bro. I just feel like I've seen Linz. He has a lot of potential. He slays really well. And yeah, I really like the look of Linz. I think he's a good player. I think he's a really good player. And I think I would build around him, especially considering this is the French fan base with the LAG. I feel like it kind of makes sense to go with Linz for this one. The way they're trying to franchise that org with the general mates. I just think it's, Linz makes the most sense in this decision. Then we go over to LAT. This one is probably the most difficult so far out of the choices. I think it's between Hydra or Scrap. And I can't make my mind up. I really can't make my mind up. Like, if I'm Nature and I have to get rid of one, I think, again, Envoy and Ghost are amazing players, but I'm comfortable with keeping them out of this because I have Hydra and Scrap to pick from. I think that having an SMG like an S-tier SMG like that, I don't know. I really don't know. Hydra or Scrap. I like both of them a lot. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I personally have a bias towards Scrap. I just really, really like watching Scrap play. And I feel like in terms of AR, there's really only like 2 or 3 ARs on his level. And I feel like he's been the best AR. Kind of like, I just think with Scrap, he brings the slaying ability as an AR, where I think a lot of other ARs don't bring that much slaying ability. And I feel like there's so many good SMGs in the league. They're not obviously Hydra's level, but I don't know, man. Do I just pick Hydra? I'm going to pick Hydra, bro. The guy won champs with Envy. I'm going to pick Hydra. They're both so good. I'm torn between them both. This year would be Scrap, but I'm picking Hydra as my player. I think I build around Hydra. I'm sorry, Scrap. He was a close one, but I pick around. I think I pick Hydra. This one's nice and easy. We can move on from this one quickly. It's Real or Renkor. I think they've both been really, really good. I'm going to say Real because we've seen a bit more of him, more consistently. But I have to say Renkor has been very, very good. I really like Renkor's gameplay. I feel like another major or two, and he might be the best player on this team. He's been really good since his arrival, since Vickel's departure. But yeah, I'm going to go with Real. I'm going to go with Real on this one. Then we move over to the Rocker. Again, couple of players here, couple of options. If I'm building around the franchise, though, it's going to be around Estrio, Geo, or Nero. And I think I'm going to go with Geo. I just think I can develop him into a leader. I think he's someone who can take the keys over the next decade. I just think he's a really good player. Let's look at the stats. They're all pretty similar. Okay, Geo has actually got the highest KD, so the best statistically, but he's an AR. Nero's really good, but I think this is the level he's playing at now. It's kind of like not his ceiling, because I think he can obviously improve, but this is kind of a high level for Nero. I think he's playing really well right now. If I'm building around a franchise player, I just feel like Geo can be that leader for me for the next 5 to 10 years. Build around him. I'd probably go with Geo or Estrio. I think it'll be Geo, Estrio, then Nero. But Nero's played really good, so I don't know, maybe Geo, Nero, then Estrio, something like that. But I think I'll go Geo. I'm gonna go through my team last. I'm gonna go through the Optic Boys last. Toronto Ultra. Okay, it's an interesting one again. I think Kleenex or Joe? Kleenex or Joe? I think Kleenex. I think I build around Kleenex. I think Joe's really good. Beans is really good. Insight is good, but I wouldn't build around. I would just go around Kleenex, bro. The guy's him. The guy's him, bro. The pacing he sets same pacing as Joe, and you can see he's got a 1.08. The guy just sets pacing, bro. The guy just sets pacing. Oh, is he going to show player cards? Oh, interesting. I didn't even know they have player cards. That makes it very interesting. You're seeing it already. Like, the guy was an absolute demon. But Breaking Point, shout out to them. They're absolutely elite. But yeah, I think Kleenex for sure. 97 rated. He just had an amazing event, and that's the card I'm definitely going to go with, that boy Kleenex. Then we go through to the Vancouver Surge. If Hook is available, I think Hook becomes an option. But for now, I'm going to go with that boy Abuza. I just think Abuza has been the best player in terms of ceiling on this team. I look through and I'm like, you know, I think Abuza is just one of those players that last year in the offseason was high demand, and you build around him. You build around him on this Vancouver Surge team. He's a good AR player. I think as the years go on, he builds more confidence, starts finding some teammates he gels with, and I really do believe he can compete in the top 6 kind of rosters. This major one's been kind of underwhelming. I think Nasty and Hixie had a pretty poor major. I think Nasty's quite lucky to be in this situation where he's on the roster, in my opinion. I think he should have been dropped just from his major one performance, but you know, fair play, he's still on the roster. And I think with Hook, this roster will be pretty decent. I don't think it'll be amazing yet. I think they still need to prove themselves and upgrade a little bit. 04 I really like as well. But yeah, in terms of player, I think I'm going to give it to Abu. So then we go through my team, Optic Texas. Okay. Who do I build around? Kenny's great player. Absolutely great player. Fred's an absolute great player. But as an Optic fan, with my bias and the fan base, remember we're building around him for our franchise. The fan base we have accumulated, the loyalty we've accumulated with Dashi and Shotzi, I just have to respect them. It has to be between Dashi and Shotzi. And this is where it gets crazy because, bro, like, Dashi has been Optic for a minute, bro, since Black Ops 4, basically. And Shotzi has come over and basically just been the new scump. So you have 2 excellent choices, and I think dropping one would hurt. I just don't think you can drop Shotzi. I think dropping Dashi is insane as well, but I just don't think you can drop Shotzi. The guy has the most unique POV in the game. When he's playing well, he is so impactful. I just feel like you build around Shotzi, and just like with Simp, I think your ceiling as a team is just raised. Like, it's just raised. Like, he's so good. He does some crazy shit that just you can't replicate. Like with Dashi, his role, he does it so well. He's such a good player. Can you replicate it? I think it'll be easier to replicate a Dashi's playstyle than a Shotzi's playstyle, but you won't be as good as Dashi. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me twisted. Dashi's amazing, but it'll probably be easier to replace Dashi in the team than it will be to replace Shotzi, in my opinion. So Shotzi goes in. Again, not saying Dashi's not good in his own role, his respected role. He's absolutely amazing. Okay, but like, bro, 1.14 KD with the pacing he sets, with the amount of like, he's just insane, bro. So I'm gonna have to give it to that boy Shotzi. Like, you can see even the player cards, I know they don't mean anything, but 95, 91, like, they're both just insane. You can see like overall like seven chips. You got 2 rings, then you got Kenny with 10 chips and 2 rings. Like, these guys are winners, bro. They're both winners. It's very, very hard to argue. And this is why I said Kenny has to get, you know, some credit here. The guy's got 10 chips and 2 rings in the CDL era. That is insane. I think it's CDL era. Maybe it's all time. Anyways, oh no, it must be all time. But yeah, I mean, both players just really, really good. And I think I'm going to give it to that boy Shotzi for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know down below what players from every team would you guys keep as your franchise player. Thank you for watching. Catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.